I've been having trouble this week recording content. The topics that I had thought I was going to discuss for this week's podcast just didn't really sit well with me, and so I have not recorded on those topics. But instead, I've decided for this week's podcast just to share two scriptures with you and really not have a lot of dialogue, but just let those scriptures sit with you as well and let you interpret those. And those of you that know me well perhaps will understand where my mind and emotions are at this moment. The primary scripture I want us to look at today comes from Psalms 109. And those of you that know me know that I don't normally draw meat for a conversation from the Old Testament, because I truly believe we should be focused on the life and lessons of Jesus and the words of Jesus. Things that Moses or David wrote are really not where I draw my theology, although I do draw inspiration from them. So, and same with Paul and Peter and Timothy's writings. I don't hold those for theology, but I do hold those for thought and thinking and for inspiration. Okay, so I do want us to look at Proverbs chapter 6, beginning with verse 16. Here are 6 things God hates. And I'm reading from this passage from the Message. In my new book, Hear Me, See Me, on page 150, I'm having a similar conversation, and I actually do reference this passage in multiple versions, paraphrases, and translations. But I'm going to read just at this moment from the Message. Proverbs chapter 6, starting with verse 16. I think I already did that. We'll start over. Here are 6 things that God hates, and one more that he loathes with a passion. You know, we don't have a shortage of people telling us what God hates. Whether you're talking about shrimp, or cutting your beard or your hair, or not wearing a hat in church, children being disrespectful, eating a honey-baked ham, or my favorite, the shrimp and brochette with the bacon wrapped around the jalapeno stuffed shrimp and grilled to perfection, served with garlic butter. But no matter what we draw out of other portions of the laws of Moses, here are some clarification from Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16. And yes, I know I'm starting for the 3rd time, but I should stop perseverating and just dive into what I feel like I should do today. Here are 6 things that God hates, and one more that he loathes with a passion. So if you really want to know what is it that God hates, I'm assuming that these come from either David or Solomon. Here are 6 things God hates. Here are 6 things that God hates. Here are 6 things that God hates. And one more that he loathes with a passion. Eyes that are arrogant. So basically, arrogance. A tongue that lies. A liar. Hands that murder the innocent. You know, like blaming people for something they didn't do, or just going after people willy-nilly. You got dark skin? I'm going to get you. You must be the guilty. A heart that hatches evil plots. A heart that hatches evil plots. Feet that race down a wicked track. A mouth that lies under oath. A mouth that lies under oath. A troublemaker in the family. Maybe a troublemaker in the government. A troublemaker in the country. A troublemaker in Washington, D.C. A troublemaker in the White House. A troublemaker in the Supreme Court. A troublemaker in the governor's mansion. So if you really want to know, we preach and teach about God's love, but there are some things that God does not love. Eyes that are arrogant, a tongue that lies, hands that murder the innocent, a heart that hatches evil plots, feet that race down a wicked track, a mouth that lies under oath, a mouth that lies under oath. If you are elected to a position and you place your hand on the Bible and make an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, if you didn't mean that, that was a lie, especially if you're tearing it down. Okay. You know, I do have some prayers for some of these leaders that we have. And my prayer comes from Psalm 109, starting with verse 7. And this is from the NRSV UE. Psalm 109. When he is tried, let him be found guilty. Let his prayer be counted as sin. May his days be few. May another seize his position. May his children be orphans and his wife a widow. May his children wander about and beg. May they be driven out of the ruins they inhabit. May the creditor seize all that he has. May strangers plunder the fruits of his toil. May there be no one to do him a kindness, nor anyone to pity his orphaned children. May his prosperity be cut off. May his name be blotted out in the second generation. May the iniquity of his father be remembered before the Lord, and do not let the sin of his mother be blotted out. Let them be before the Lord continually, and may his memory be cut off from the earth. For he did not remember to show kindness, but pursued the poor and needy and the brokenhearted to their death. He loved to curse. Let curses come on him. He did not like blessing. May it be far from him. He clothed himself with cursing as his coat. May it soak into his body like water, like oil into his bones. May it be like a garment that he wraps around himself, like a belt that he wears every day. This has been a reading from Psalm 109, verses 7 through 19. No commentary today. Read my mind. Thank you for watching.